And you won't hear this on the radio.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. Is the price worth it? The price, we think the price is worth it.
Listen, I really think the media is...
Because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
Could you look me in my eyes and just lie to me?
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
They burn these fucking people alive because the message they want to convey to you is state power will always win.
You're listening to Below the Tension Podcast.
Open up your eyes, 'cause maybe it's all lies. I'm trying to make a way.
How's it going, everyone? Thank you for joining me for this Wednesday broadcast of the show. I do episodes every Wednesday and every Saturday evening. You can catch me on YouTube, Below the Tension. You can catch me on Facebook. You can catch me on iTunes. Or you can follow me at Slav Libertarian on Twitter. Those are all ways to get in touch with me and check out my stuff. Now, I have seen an explosion in popularity just in over a month, going cold turkey on the show, and I am really excited to see how things come. I got a lot of news to cover today. I have some politics, obviously. I have some Venezuela updates. I have some military-industrial complex news, and I'm going to finish up the show with some pot news. But first, I want to get into some things that are going on with me. I am trying to syndicate this show myself. And so I am trying to amass affiliates and syndicators and all that kind of stuff to get this show seen even more. I'm working overtime. So, when somebody carries my show, I like to support them. And that's where I get into things like the Sovereignty Network. Great guys over there. It's a community of journalists, content creators, video producers, bloggers, and they're reporting the revolution of the mind. You can find them online, sovereigntynetwork.com. And I'm also affiliated with timetofree.us, a community of anarchists. Comment on this podcast, visit their website, timetofree.us, or tweet them at timetofreeus to find out how to get your membership. And here's the big news here. I am working on a third affiliate that will be huge. Huge affiliate. I am not going to sing until the fat lady does, so keep that in mind, but that might be announced on the Saturday podcast. Now, the big news right now is Hillary clinched the nomination, and this Brock Turner guy, who was convicted of a sexual assault and only sentenced to 6 months. Everyone knows the story. People are already sick of it. I'm already sick of it. But what I did want to mention about this, and this is that the whole thing about Below the Tension, seeing right below the surface here, Brock Turner was given due process of law in comparison to other publicized court cases that we've seen. Casey Anthony, the Ferguson thing, those were all tried in the court of public opinion in the media before the investigation was even started, before the bodies were even cold. The media and the public decided to just pass judgment. This is different, and I actually agree how this went down, and I agree with all the criticisms. I have been fucking plastered, and I've never thought it was okay to hump a girl that's unconscious, okay? That's just fucked up. So he confessed, he was proven guilty, and sentenced. That's how things are supposed to go in this country when you cover court proceedings. I just wanted to comment on that, that I actually am really happy about how that all played out in the media. And obviously, if he didn't get such a low sentence, nobody would have cared, but the point still stands. Now, on to my first article here was a thing that obviously caught my eye by Will Rahn, CBS News. Commentary, trying to take libertarians seriously. So why is it so hard to take libertarians seriously? Will writes, granted, Johnson is a bit of an oddball, but he's an endearing one, which is more than we could say about Trump and Clinton. Johnson seems well positioned to take advantage of all the anti-establishment animus on both the left and the right. The real problem with libertarians isn't Johnson. Well, I agree. The problem is with libertarianism. Okay. It's a philosophy that is deeply limited in appeal, which libertarians themselves refuse to believe. I believe it. Libertarian writers like my friend Nick Gillespie, quote-unquote libertarian, are fond of arguing that America is becoming more libertarian, not less, and that politics is lagging in its indication of its popularity. He has a point, particularly when it comes to social issues, but from an economic standpoint, there is a lot to suggest that Americans are not in the mood for smaller government and laissez-faire capitalism. The major party candidates who embrace big government tells us more about the national mood than any poll ever would. Well, I got a message for you here, Will. Libertarianism isn't libertarianism without small government to no government, obviously. Laissez-faire capitalism. That's what libertarianism is. So in essence, you're suggesting that we morph libertarianism into something it's not in order to make it more popular, instead of making efforts to make the philosophy of liberty popular, which is what I'm trying to do, which is what Ron Paul tried to do. So you're suggesting that libertarianism is to libertarianism, libertarian, which makes no sense. I get what you're saying, that these candidates are popular and these are their positions, but I don't think that's necessarily because they don't like small government or they don't like laissez-faire capitalism. Like everyone's been saying, they just don't know it yet. That's what Gary Johnson's been saying this entire time. No one since Ron Paul, before or after, has been able to deliver that message that effectively. And look how scared they were of Ron Paul. So, I don't really agree with your assessment there. But at the end, he says, he's skeptical, but he'll see how Johnson does. Which, if Johnson gets 15% in the polls, if they include him in the polls, and gets on that stage, it could be a big deal. I know a lot of libertarians don't like him, and I know all the reasons why. I get it. Trust me, I understand. Now on to some more politics. Going back to Trump and the Trump deception, I did a whole episode a few weeks back. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on iTunes. The Trump deception. And basically outlined everything that I'm going to say right now. Every week, because I recapped this the other week. And I'm going to recap it right now. Every week, my point gets stronger and stronger. So I'm going to read you something I wrote on April 7th, and it's on my personal Facebook page, April 7th. I predict that once Trump secures the nomination, which he in essence has, but not officially obviously yet, he will continue to say unpopular things. This is April 7th. Now this whole Mexican judge thing has happened, among other things. He will continue to say unpopular things, in parentheses, my opinion on those things is irrelevant. Things so unpopular that he will spike the cannon and allow Hillary to stroll into the White House. Now, I said that April 7th, April, May, June. So, I think I have a little bit of foresight there. And going into that, this article, Trump is doing a great job if he's trying to lose. Having secured the nomination, Trump seems determined to lose the general election. Whoa! This was written on June 7th. 2 months exactly. June 7th, April 7th. If that is his goal, he's on the path to success. The combination of Trump's mistakes and Clinton seizing the nomination is likely to give Clinton a bounce in the polls, reversing Trump's momentum. Recent national surveys and in key swing states show it a dead heat, and the odd makers have raised Trump's chance of winning to about 1 in 3. That would still make him a loser in November, so it's hard to explain why he thinks that he has the luxury of engaging in destructive sideshows. Exactly. And speaking of sideshows, many Trump supporters don't believe his wildest promises, and they don't care. Remember a couple of weeks back, I was recapping, like I said, the Trump deception episode, and I highlighted how Paul Manafort, his campaign manager, basically said, yeah, he said the wall thing and he said the Muslims thing, but that's really kind of a bargaining chip, and then he'll just basically go along with everybody else. Well, it seems like his supporters are kind of just going along with that. The wall along the Mexican border is one of Trump's most enduring and popular proposals, promoting raucous cheering and chants wherever he goes. Yet many of Trump's fans don't actually believe he'll build the wall, and they don't care if he doesn't. Many also don't think that Trump, as president, would really ban Muslims from entering the country, seize oil control by terrorists, or deport 11 million illegals. They view Trump's pledges as more of a malleable symbol than a concrete promise, reflecting a willingness to shake things up and to be bold. Trump says a lot of things that are off the cuff. Does he mean it to a T? I don't think so, said Dennis Kearns, a supporter. When he talks about bombing ISIS and all of that, his advisors aren't going to let him just go off half-cocked and bomb here and bomb there. Really? You want a guy in there with his finger on the button that has to be pulled back by his advisors like a guy in a bar trying to swing at some dude that just, tried to hit on his girlfriend? Is that really who we want right now? Is that really what we want? Trump has repeatedly insisted that he is not joking about creating this wall, and has offered up specifics. But Trump has also said at times that these proposals, including the wall and the ban, are merely suggestions that are open to negotiation. Weeks ago, I highlighted all of this in my show, The Trump Deception. Please go back and watch it. Incredible. I understand that Hillary is a fucking witch. I also have gone after her, specifically on the email thing, because I have experience dealing with classified information. And I would be in Leavenworth prison right now if I did a fart's worth of what she did. But that's where the Trump deception comes in. What does he stand for? His two most monumentous things are shams. What are you people thinking? Oh yeah, his advisors will just calm him down. Yeah, we want that with a guy with nuclear weapons. But what Trump does is brings out a lot of the hypocrisy that we see in the media and news coverage. For instance, BuzzFeed terminates Republican deal over Trump. Online media outlet BuzzFeed has pulled out of an advertisement deal reported to be worth $1.3 million with the RNC over objections to its party's presumptive nominee, Donald J. Trump. In an email to employees on Monday, BuzzFeed founder Joanna Peretti wrote, "We don't run cigarette ads because they're hazardous to your health, and we don't accept Trump ads for the same reason. The Trump campaign is directly opposed to freedoms of our employees in the United States and around the world, and in some cases, such as proposed bans on international travel for Muslims, would make it impossible for our employees to do their jobs." BuzzFeed declined to further comment. Interesting point there, BuzzFeed. And as many of you know, they are extremely leftist, obviously, in this case. And they're a private company. They can do what they want. That's fine. But as with the critiques I had about Facebook and Nick Gillespie saying they could just do whatever they want, you have to advertise yourself as what you are. BuzzFeed, its Wikipedia describes it. BuzzFeed is an internet company describing itself as social news and entertainment company. In late 2011, Ben Smith of Politico was hired as editor-in-chief to move the site into serious journalism and long-form reporting. So you are supposed to be, you're moving yourself into this serious reporting like Associated Press, Reuters. Guess what they are? Unbiased. So let's go over some of the things that this squeaky clean organization's been a part of. BuzzFeed has been accused of plagiarizing original content from competitors throughout the online and offline press. BuzzFeed's most popular writer, Matt Stapera, has frequently copied and pasted chunks of text into lists without attribution. In 2013, Atlantic Wire also published an article concerned with BuzzFeed's plagiarism. BuzzFeed has been the subject of multiple copyright infringements for both using content that had no rights to and encouraging proliferation without attributing to its sources. One for an individual photographer's photograph, and another for 9 celebrity photographs from a single photographic company. In 2004, BuzzFeed writer Benny Johnson was accused of multiple instances of plagiarism. In total, 41 instances of plagiarism were found and corrected. Incredible. So, you want to be this moral authority on what is right and wrong. How about you get your own house in order there? Scoundrels. On to continuing Venezuela news. As hunger mounts, Venezuelans turn to trash for food. This is Bernie Sanders' dreamland, as my last episode was aptly named. Until recently, Julio Noguera worked at a bakery. Now he spends his evenings searching through garbage for food. Awesome. I come here to look for food because if I didn't, I'd starve to death, he said, as he sorted through moldy piles of potatoes. With things like they are, no one helps anyone and no one gives away meals. No one has meals to give away. Across town, unemployed people converge every dusk at a trash heap in downtown Caracas sidewalk to pick through the rotten fruit and vegetables tossed away by nearby shops. They frequently join by small business owners, college students, and pensioners, people who considered themselves middle class, even though their living standards have long been pulverized by triple-digit inflation, food shortages, and a collapsing currency. Democratic socialism. A study by the 3 leading Caracas universities found that 76% of Venezuelans are now below the poverty line, compared to 52% just 2 years ago. Well, 1.5 years ago, 2014. Staples such as corn flour, cooking oil are subsidized, costing only pennies at the strongest of the two official exchange rates. But fruit and vegetables have become an unaffordable luxury for many. Fruits and vegetables are a luxury in democratic, socialist Venezuela. That country is in free fall. And I feel so sorry for all of them that they were duped into this system. It's incredible. On to some military, foreign policy, military-industrial complex news. Drones emerge from the shadows to become the key cog in U.S. war machine. When U.S. drones obliterated a car carrying Taliban leader Mullah Mansour last month, it was the kind of targeted killing that unmanned aircraft are best known for. But in 15 years after the first drone fired the missile, the U.S. military's drone program has expanded far beyond specific strikes to become an everyday part of the war machine. Now, from control booths in the United States and around the Middle East, Afghanistan, and parts of Africa, drone crews are flying surveillance missions and providing close air support for troops on the ground. As part of an expanding program, the Air Force aims to double the number of drone squadrons over the next 5 years, and also it wants to increase the flight by 50%. Now, I did 4 years in the Air Force and 4 years as a military contractor. And with that knowledge, with that experience, I am in a unique position to explain some of this kind of stuff to people. The UAV program, as this article states, they send planes off from that area, but then they're picked up and flown from the United States. That's all done by satellite. Now, satellites only have so much bandwidth on them that they can transfer information, and in certain frequencies that these planes operate in. So when people think that there's just swarms of UAVs just flying around everywhere, that's not true. There's only so much space that can be used at one time. So basically what they're saying when they want to increase drone flights by 50%, you can have 50% more squadrons, you can have 50% more people, you can have 50% more planes, but you also need 50% more infrastructure to fly all those things. And that's not just waving a wand. Just keep that in mind. Drones log up to 8 times as many flight hours as the few remaining fighter planes, and they also release more weapons than conventional aircraft. Incredible. So, and this goes into an overall picture of what you'll see emerging in the next couple decades on what, specifically in the Air Force, but what military-wide, what we're moving into. I don't think that we will ever see a full total war, nation on nation type thing ever again. If, obviously, the world stays as is, i.e. a natural disaster that, a meteor strike that just totally screws the whole planet. But as I get into this article, this next one, things are moving to more increasing proxy wars, as you see in Syria, as you see in Ukraine. It's going to move towards more special ops, get in, get out, strike missions. It's going to go to more cyber warfare. It's going to go to more RPAs, remotely piloted aircraft. That's what you're going to start to see all of this morph into. You're also going to see global strike capabilities being developed, where someone can launch an aircraft, launch a projectile or an aircraft or whatever the case may be, somewhere, and it reach the entire other side of the globe within an hour. So what would be the point of securing airspace over, let's just say, Syria, when I could just launch a cruise missile from America and have it hit anywhere in the world within an hour? Why do I need to fly aircraft over a space, have to secure that airspace, when I could just strike from where I'm at? And that leads me into my next article here. The U.S. Air Force may have just built its last fighter jet. And I think this guy is definitely on to something. The United States Air Force released its latest official strategy for controlling the skies for the next 15 years. And for the first time in generations, air superiority does not seem to be a necessity, including a new fighter jet. The Air Force may be getting new F-35s, but it probably won't get an F-36 anytime soon. Absolutely right. Instead of deploying squadrons of supersonic manned jets to directly battle the enemy with missiles and guns, the traditional approach, by 2030, the Air Force will wage aerial war with a family of capabilities, according to Air Superiority Plan 2030. These capabilities could include hackers who could target the enemy's aerial command and control systems, electronic jammers to blind rival planes, and the new B-21 stealth bombers that can, in theory, destroy enemy aircraft on the ground before they even knew it was coming. And also, I forgot, the Champ upgrade to the AGM-86 cruise missile. This one, instead of flying in and detonating a nuke or a conventional payload, it is a high-powered microwave weapon that flies by and completely fries electrical systems with building-to-building accuracy. They could fry a building, skip over a hospital, and then fry the next building. This stuff is getting super advanced. And continuing to foreign policy news, commentary, how NATO really provoked Putin. Now, I've been hearing a lot of people say that they think that this is what's going to be like the next big thing, a war with Russia over Ukraine. I don't know about all that. I think that this proxy war will continue and there will be saber rattling and all that kind of stuff, but I don't see it ever breaking out into full-scale war. Regardless, Poland is about to host the largest multinational military exercises on its territory in more than a decade. Anaconda 16 exercises involve 31,000 troops from more than 20 countries intended to showcase NATO's unity. The exercises come just weeks after the United States inaugurated its first of two controversial missile defense installations in Eastern Europe. Next year, the Pentagon plans to quadruple military spending in Europe and begin rotating armored brigades through Eastern Europe, in addition to extra NATO forces to being deployed to Poland and the Balkans. The escalating standoff resembles the chicken and egg conundrum. NATO urges that a return to containment and deterrence is a regrettable result of Putin's 2014 attack on Ukraine, and Kremlin and its apologists answer that the military intervention was a necessary forestall to the U.S.-led alliance towards eastward encroachment. All debates over Ukraine conflict start and end with NATO's role. In the case of Ukraine, NATO is a red herring. The former Soviet Republic was never under serious consideration for NATO membership, and barely 1/5 of Ukrainians supported joining the alliance in the polls taken right before the Russian invasion. Putin's lightning occupation of Crimea and the manufactured insurrection in eastern Ukraine took NATO by surprise. Even Eastern Europeans remain wary of Moscow's intentions The rest of the alliance has come to view Russia as a grumpy neighbor rather than a stealthy adversary. The United States may have provoked Putin's ignorance, arrogance, or negligence, but not its belligerence. That's why NATO is such a mad scramble to catch up. So basically, he is trying to justify all the buildup in Eastern Europe with NATO because of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and that author is claiming that Ukraine wouldn't have even joined the EU anyways. Regardless, it is a dangerous precedent, for sure. And finally, some pot news. Opponents say Massachusetts pot initiative text is too hazy on food. I didn't know that Massachusetts was considering legalized recreational marijuana, but regardless, a ballot initiative that would allow Massachusetts voters to legalize recreational marijuana is fatally flawed because it does not explicitly say that it would legalize the sale of food containing the drug, opponents argue. You see all of the data that has come off from states like Colorado especially that have legalized marijuana, the fact that it has been studied so far and it's found no health effects except for, as I covered last week, some dental hygiene problems or gum disease problems. Compared to smoking and alcohol, I think that's pretty tame. So I really don't understand where this opposition is coming from still to this day. It seems like people will make any excuse to keep that drug illegal. It's really sad, but the country is changing, and that's for the best. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening. As I said, you can follow me on Twitter at @SlavLibertarian. You can follow the show on YouTube, Below the Tension, on Facebook. My new page, I just launched it. Go like it, please. Below the Tension. I am on iTunes, Below the Tension, or you can find my RSS feed on my Twitter at @SlavLibertarian and subscribe that way. I will be back Saturday evening. Thank you guys for listening, and have a nice day.